Hi, Armoured Pants here, and I have a video for you on the Japanese line. We're going to look at the Tier 2, the Chi-Ni, and as always we have a complete guide for you including gameplay. We will firstly look at the tech spec, and as always we will use blitzhanger.com, which is an amazing asset for all blitzers, and if you're not using it you should do so. I also, by the way, did a introductory guide to the guide on Japanese tanks. It's on channel, so if you haven't had a look at it, please do so, because it explains a lot about the entire Japanese tank range. Now, this is a medium tank that plays a little bit like a heavy with bounces and things. Has a big gun for its tier, 57mm. It's very big for tier 1. But then, of course, it has slow reload. But it does do some nice damage. 60 alpha rolls in tier 1 is pretty big. So if you can make those shots count, you will do quite a bit of damage in this tank. As always, I will use supercharge and refined gun. I want to get that muzzle velocity up. It's a short stubby barrel on the gun, but using supercharge would get that muzzle velocity up to almost 1,000 meters per second, which is really good. Now the tank itself is small, and its best feature, I would say, before we look at the armor, is this gun depression here. 15 degrees of gun depression is just amazing. And this is just fantastic gun depression. As you probably know from watching the other videos on channel, this is what allows you to fire over hills and down hills. And you will see that this is a really good tactic in this tank, and one that I adopt in the game that we're going to see. This has a pretty decent armor profile. It will bounce shots from you. See there, if you look at the relative armor up on the left hand top screen, you can get some good angles on this tank. And it has a really small turret, right? Now if you angle the armor to maximum effect, you will enable some more bounces. But remember, this tank is very good hull down. What we mean by that is you hide the hull, pop the turret over, and then you can use that gun depression if you're on a hill just to fire down into the enemy. And all you're going to expose is that really tiny turret. It's a very difficult target. It's difficult to pen, and you will get bounces, especially off the low caliber guns in tier 1, tier 2, and even some of the low caliber guns in tier 3 if you're up tiered. And this is a really good tactic on this tank. This appendage here at the back is kind of odd, but actually you'd be surprised. Sometimes you get some bounces with it. I'm not really sure what its actual function is. It certainly wasn't put there for bouncing shots and blitz, but nonetheless we'll take what we're given. You'll see here the external modules, the tracks, they're kind of exposed, so you will need to run the repair kit, because you may get tracked in this tank with the tracks are exposed on all sides, back and front. You see here that front on your own tier, it doesn't really look like it's going to bounce some shots, but actually during the game you'll see that it does. Especially if you angle up, and especially if you only pop that turret over. If that's the only target you give to the enemy, then they will find it very difficult to pen you, and you will get some bounces. It says here that it's good for peek-a-boom, long-range sniping, 1v1 brawl if it's not up tiered. But you know, in actuality, the tank, because it's not so fast for a medium, just does 30 kilometers an hour in a straight line. It kind of plays a little bit like a heavy in that respect. You move a bit like a heavy. But if you can get into a position where you can hide the hull, just get that turret over and use that gun depression, then it's you're going to be in a strong position and do well in this tank, and you'll see that I kind of do that in this game. Now we're going to have a look at the gameplay. It's 4 to spare, which is kind of the most played map of the lower tiers, I think. I'm up tiered in this game, unfortunately, but nonetheless I'm still able to do pretty well. You see what I mean here about the tank? It's not so big, a tiny turret, and has a very short stubby barrel, which is why it's better to run supercharged to get that muzzle velocity up. If you haven't seen my other videos, you'll know that muzzle velocity is one of the key components in the armor penetration, the mathematical armor penetration formula, where it's V. It's actually called the F formula, developed by the US Navy, which is used in this game. Now, and V is of course squared, so therefore it has an exponential influence on the potential penetration of your shells. Now I'm going to a spot here where I want to get to that hill, and I want to use the gun depression in this tank and just show my small turret and see if I can get some shots in. So we see now, get some shot in here, get a nice alpha roll. I'm going to roll back into cover while I am reloading. I'm going to try to get another shot into light thick. But then I see another target over there, and you can see how good, how the gun depression on this tank opens up so many different fields of fire for me. I've got so many targets I can shoot into now. Another shot, again we see why we have that muzzle velocity increased to almost 1,000 meters per second. Make sure we get that pen. Get another shot into the SU there. So far I've put in a shot on every reload. I didn't have to wait, I'm just like maximizing my DPM. Fire a shot there, fluff it. Now the light Vic is going to push onto me, but I get another shot into him here. Then I pop down and we'll see exactly as I said when we're looking at the tech spec. If we look here in instant replay, I get 1, 2, 3, 4 bounces all on the turret, because I'm just showing that small turret target with its pretty good armor. I keep moving from side to side. Moving is grooving, stopping is dropping, as we say. Don't give them an easy target. Keep moving, creating angles. It makes it more difficult for them to pen. Give them that small target, just the turret, and there we go. I'm able to bounce those shots. Here we see a really nice deflection shot where I get it right into the back here of the Chi. Really nice shot, and that is the muzzle velocity in action there. If we didn't have supercharged going, we would not be able to make that shot because the shell would have travelled much slower and would have much less chance of penning. But another one into him, again you see the gun depression, and really that's how to play this tank, just using that gun depression. However, despite my best efforts, we're now in trouble. It's a 7v3 situation, and they have a couple of full hit point tanks as well, so it's not really going well for us, but we're going to try to rectify the situation. I'm going to pop over here, I'm reloaded, and I'm going to use the gun depression again, take him out, roll back into safety now. I do take a shot, but I think it was important to clear that big gun on the SU. You don't want him putting rounds into you. Put another round into the Panzer there, roll back while I reload, trying to stay safe. I'm using soft cover here. Going to see if I can get another round into the cruiser there. Fluff that shot, take a bit of damage, but still I'm doing pretty okay. I'm coming around now. Again, I'm going to use this small hill here, give me a little bit of cover. Just pop my turret over if I can to give them a shot. Again, it's just that. I do take a round, but I get a nice round into the Stuart. He's a one shot now. We've got quite a few of them down as one shots. This should really help my team. Now I'm able to clear the Stuart, roll back while I reload. And now we have it down to a 4v3 situation, so we really pull that out of the bag. Gonna clear the Chi-Han now with the D2. Got him down to just low hit points. The D2 clears him, and what a nice turnaround that was. Good game, Greens. Good game, us. Me and my allies did really well there, and then we have it from a 7v3 to a 3v2. Really good play from us. Really strong play. And again, you can see I'm moving into a position here where I only want to show the turret of my tank. So I'm going to go in here and use this broken wall, clear him. Now I'm doing really well. I'm also as I'm up tiered as well, and this is a really great position for this tank, even against the higher tier, because all I'm doing is I'm just showing that turret. Not much of a target, it's a tiny target. I'm using the wall to hide the more vulnerable parts of the tank and just popping over and just putting in my shots when I can. I'm going to keep this position because we're also capturing the base. So basically what we're doing is we're forcing that cruiser into making shots he may actually not want to make. The Panzer III is keeping him pinned in, so we're either going to win this on points, capturing the base, or we're going to kill him one way or the other. He pops out again, gets hit again. He's really in a difficult situation, but he does manage to clear one of our tanks to D2, which was just a one shot. Now it's a 2v1 situation. I tried to put a shot into him there, but it was again, as you see, firing at the turret is always risky. You're never sure of penning. The Panzer III, he really should go around behind him, but he preoccupies him there, and I get another shot in. But again, the cruiser should really have concentrated on one of us. Now we see here exactly how good the position is for this tank here, because really it just allows me to just you know, reload, roll up, and just take some nice shots into the cruiser, and I'm in a really safe position, and he really can't do too much damage. Put another shot into him there, and we see, yeah, this really strong position for this tank. And now time is against the cruiser too, and he's sort of caught in between a rock and a hard place here, if you'll pardon the pun. That's a lovely shot there. I just level up the gun right on his vulnerable cupola and just eye the needle shot right through there. Really nice. And again, it shows with the muzzle velocity, you're just increasing that chances of penning, getting that V squared in the F formula up. Fluff that one. Oh my goodness, could have got an extra kill there. Fluff it though, but I do allow my my compatriot, the Panzer, to go in and take the last kill. Really good game from us. Really good team play, I thought. Really good turnaround 7v3 to 3v2 for us in our favour. Mastery badge delivered over 1000 damage in a tier 2 was really good, and you can see myself in the Panzer III did a really nice job in that game. You can see here that not only did I do damage to nearly all their tanks, I actually did damage to all their tanks. I also got a lot of spotting done as well, and just that game was just perfect way to play that tank, using the gun depression, maximizing that really great 15 degrees of gun depression, showing just that really tiny turret, utilizing the supercharge to make sure that really stubby little gun does as much damage as possible, leaving as much chance of penning as possible. 3 kills, over 1000 damage in a tier 2 and a tier 3 game. I think that's pretty good, and pretty happy with that performance, and shows really how to play that tank, playing to its strengths. Because in this, if you don't play to the tank's strengths, it can let you down, of course. Now let's recap. I mean, I think it's a solid tier 2 tank. I think it's relatively well balanced. Even has a big gun for its tier and all that, but I think it's well balanced. The gun is great. If you use supercharge, I think it is accurate and reliable. You saw there that the deflection shot I did on the Chi-Ha. So that's why I always say use the supercharge in a refile gun, because it really does maximize your chances of penning. And the 57mm has great pen. Of course, a slow rate of fire because it does almost 60 damage each time, and has a very big gun for its tier. The armour is relatively good. I mean, and it will bounce shots for you, as you saw, but particularly if you can hide that hole and just show that turret, you're going to bounce shots. If you angle the tank to move around constantly, don't give them any easy shots, then you're going to get even more bounces. I mean, for a medium tank, it is relatively slow, which is why I said it kind of has a bit of heavy characteristics. It only does 30 kilometers per hour. Therefore, you need to turn the tracks if you're in a brawl to get around to increase that traverse speed. But the gun depression is just its best feature. 15 degrees, it's just awesome. And if you can get into a position where you can use that, you can inflict a lot of damage on the enemy and receive very little or none, because that tiny little turret and the angles of armor that it has, the relative armor thickness, you're going to bounce some shots, and you'll be able to use that depression to inflict some damage. So therefore, you should try to get into positions to use that, because that is the best characteristic of this tank by far. And the small turret, as I said, it's just a nightmare for the Reds to pen. It's a really tiny target, very difficult to hit, very difficult to pen. Now the next in line is the Chi-Ha, and of course there's a full guide on channel for that. But do take your time getting there. As I always say, the worst thing you can do is to rush up to tiers. This game is not about getting more tanks, it's about being proficient in the ones that you have. So cheers, Mush, thanks for watching, and all that's left to say, I guess, is pants off. Thank you very much indeed, guys. Take care. Bye.